If you've been saying affirmations every single day and nothing seems to be happening, this is probably why. Now, it isn't that affirmations are fake or that doing them to manifest isn't real. It's that many people affirm from dysregulated and panicky states. If you affirm from fear, you reinforce that fear. Now, your nervous system is responsible for the state that your body is naturally in, and the state that your body is in has a huge impact on your subconscious mind's ability to absorb the desired information. Take, for example, SATs. Now, SATs are recommended to be done, or SATs itself is done as you are drifting off. You are in an alpha brainwave length, which is associated with drowsiness, relaxation, sleepiness, and so on. And you're doing it until you fall asleep, which puts you into the delta brainwave length, where your subconscious mind becomes most receptive because you are now asleep. So if the best time, or what is recognized as the best time to affirm, is when in those drowsy, sleepy states, the relaxed state, the opposite must be true, in that when we're wired and anxious and panicky, which is found in the beta brainwave length, that is an undesired time to manifest. So before you do any more affirmations, we need to be getting you into a better state of being so you can be in a much greater state of mind, making your manifestation much more successful. But before we do get into that, if you could drop me a like and a comment on this video just to let me know you've enjoyed this video. And if you haven't already, be sure to click that bell icon when you subscribe, because that way you won't miss any future videos that may potentially change your life. If you need any help on a one-to-one level or any exclusive content to answer any extra questions, products, discounts on products, or a full Manifest Your Person course and more, down below in the comments section and the description are the links to my website where you can find all of that I've just very messily listed. But thank you for your time on that. Now let's get into this video. So, if being in dysregulated states reinforces why you are in that dysregulated state when choosing to affirm, it stands to reason that we should aim to get ourselves to a better state. Now, let me be clear, I'm not going to say that every single time you're in a panicky state and affirming, things won't go well, because I have had experiences myself where I've affirmed through panic and it's worked out. And other people have as well. So it isn't a, that's it, you've screwed it. But I think we can all agree that we are most successful when calm, empowered, or detached and affirming. So if that's when you're most successful, it stands to reason that should be where we aim to be most of the time. Now, when I say most of the time, of course, you can't be relaxed, calm, peaceful all day, every day. There will be other things that you have to do that put you into different states of mind, and that's fine. When I say most of the time, I mean as far as your manifestation is concerned. Now, there are a multitude of different ways you could regulate yourself. You could get your nervous system back under control, and you could put yourself in a better state to manifest. But I want to give you what I think is the most versatile and also the most effective. So it's a win-win. And that, of course, is breathwork. Now, breathwork has a multitude of different benefits as far as your nervous system is concerned and your manifestation. Breathwork can be used as an anchoring technique, anchoring your attention away from whatever has got you dysregulated. If I say, don't think of the purple dinosaur, your mind wants to think of the purple dinosaur because it's the center focus. Just the same as if I say, don't think about your circumstances, you've now gone and thought about your circumstances. But if I was to say, think of the yellow dinosaur, it now becomes easier to think of the yellow dinosaur. Just the same as if I was to say, think of this other circumstance, it becomes easier to think of that as opposed to the negative. So breathwork is an anchor. By practicing conscious breathing, your focus is now being placed on something else as opposed to the trigger or the stimulus or whatever it is. So that's the first benefit. The second benefit is it calms your body down as well as your mind. When we go into a fight, flight, or freeze response, which is typically what we go in when anxious, panicky, fearful, and so on, because your body doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a, internalized one, our breathing becomes more shallow. Our heart rate quickens. We get very pumped up to fight, flight, or freeze. So by practicing deep and deliberate breathing, you finish that cycle, which in and of itself brings you out of that state much easier. And the other benefit is it helps put you into that more relaxed space, closer to the alpha brainwave state, which is easier and more effective for your manifestation. So it's like buying brand new tools and then sharpening them some more. That's what this is like, doing breathwork. Now, there are a multitude of different ways you could do breathwork, but I want to give you the one that just seems to work for me the best. Now, when I do it, or sometimes when I do it, if I'm alone and, don't mind going the extra step, I'll put my hand on my heart. Now, I don't know if there's any actual scientific explanation for why this feels better, but for me, it feels like I'm closing a loop. So I recommend giving it a go. Why not? It doesn't take much effort. Hand on heart. 7-second inhale through the nose and try to breathe into the belly. If in order to reach the 7 seconds, it needs to go into the chest and then into the clavicle, perfectly fine. But just ensure that your diaphragm is filled. The reason why we want to go for the diaphragm is because diaphragmatic breathing is associated with the parasympathetic nervous system, whereas, shallow chest breathing is associated with the sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic being rest and digest, sympathetic being get up and go, basically. So by breathing into your diaphragm, you are basically helping put yourself into rest and digest, or relax and manifest, or, come up with a fun term for yourself. In fact, if you have a fun one, put it down below in the comment section. But you get those breathing in, 7-second inhale, hold for 4 seconds at the top. And then after the 4 seconds, exhale for 8. Now, I recommend exhaling out the mouth, but you can, of course, trial it, see what works for you. This is how I do it. You may want to switch up the variations. But I do it with like a sound for 8 seconds. And then hold for 4 seconds at the bottom and rinse and repeat until you feel better. If you're directly introduced to the stimulus, i.e., your person is in front of you and they've triggered you, and you don't really have like the mental cognition in that moment to count and so on, just do big inhales, big exhales, big inhales, big exhales. But if you have the time and space, I recommend doing the 7 seconds in, 8 seconds out sort of thing. But here's a little demonstration just in case you need a visual cue. Of course, it's going to be quiet because if I made the breathing loud, I'd probably pass out. So just try and, awkwardly watch me while I breathe, staring at you in the camera. But get the air out. So sort of do like an exhale beforehand because you need room to be able to breathe in. And then as such. And rinse and repeat. Now, apologies if you could hear not only the neighbors banging during that, but also my pipes. I don't know what's going on with them. I think there might be an air block or something that's making it, because it's doing a weird sound. So apologies if you heard that. But that was just one repetition. And already I started to feel a warm feeling in my chest. And I could already feel myself being that little bit more like, Obviously, I have to try and keep energy high because it's a YouTube video. But, a couple more of those and I'd be ready to just sit here and stare at the wall for an hour. Maybe not that long, but you get what I mean. But this helps regulate the nervous system. You get oxygen into the body, you slow the heart rate down, you clear the mind, and you complete the cycle. You go, look, we're no longer in a fight, flight, or freeze because look, we're breathing deep, we're calm, we're relaxed. You close that loop, which then you can go, I'm in a loving relationship with Jerry. I feel safe and secure. I am good enough for XYZ thing, making it so you're more successful with your process. Now, this obviously is a video of explanation, so it seems like a long process, but honestly, to calm the body and mind down, you could probably take no more than 45 seconds. But by putting yourself in a better state and then doing the manifestation work, you could potentially take days off of how long it takes your manifestation to come in, because you're no longer affirming and reinforcing the fear, and you are now affirming in a better state. You're now going at it with sharper tools as opposed to your blunt ones. So of course, it's going to happen quicker. But this is what I recommend you do to calm the body and mind down, to regulate the nervous system, which does make it easier for you to manifest. It makes it easier for you to do anything. Flow state typically happens when we're just going with the flow, we're relaxed, we're letting it happen. For example, anybody who does a sport will know that the more you try and force the effort, typically the worse you do. The more you try to focus on not missing the goal, the more you miss. The more you try to hit that note when singing, the more you screw it up. But the more relaxed you are, the more you just go for it in like a relaxed space, the more successful you are. Manifestation, while a different concept, is no different in practice. So yes, you can manifest outside of doing breath work. But if you want to be as successful as possible and really make the most of the time, do it. 45 seconds extra for potentially days off your process. For me, that's a win, because it also makes you feel good as well. But I really hope this video has helped. If it has, drop me a like and a comment to let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and be sure to click that bell icon. And if you need any one-to-one help to get you on the right path as far as your manifestation, down below in the comment section and the description are the links to my website, where you can find all of the things that I have to offer at such an affordable price. Check it out. It may be the best decision you ever make. And what do you have to lose by just simply looking? But thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.